Well, hey there. Good day, and good to have you back in the old mini metal garage. We're going to check out some other great selections of some die casts I've got in my rather vast collection here. All right, so today I'm going to take a look at some what's called Playart Diecasts. And a lot of these were sold under what was called the Sears Roadmates brand. You've no doubt heard me mention that brand name a couple of times. One of the motivations I had for pulling these out is because one of my newer subscribers, a man who goes by the name of Mr. Gray, who's been leaving some very enthusiastic comments on some of my videos, and I appreciate that. He mentioned he really digs these kind of off-brand cut rate die-cast cars. And I do too, because, a lot of times these kind of off-the-wall brands, they did a lot of non-mainstream cars that you don't normally see. And Playart was probably one of the more notorious ones that did some really interesting subject matters. And I'll be honest with you, the Playart cars, they're actually not that badly built. In fact, they are way better than anything that Yachtling ever put out. So everything from the Taxi on over to the green Rolls Royce, you've already seen them in prior videos. These were featured in my B-Body Chevy videos, or video that I did, and then the Rolls Royce was featured in a Rolls Royce video I did. So we're just going to take kind of a quick look at them because you've already seen those, but they're part of the Playart family, so I wanted to include them. The other three you have not seen, so we're going to take a look at them in a more extensive, thorough, in-depth look at them. So let's start with the yellow Cadillac Eldorado that's on the turntable. Could be either a 1967 or a 1968, depending on how you look at the details. Personally, I would prefer it to be a 68, and I'll tell you why. 67, even though it was an all-new, beautiful body style, there was two things about that year that I find a little bit undesirable. One is, I don't think disc brakes were offered on the front that year. And these cars could really use some disc brakes, let me tell you, because of the weight. The other thing was they were still using the old style Cadillac engine, the 429 cubic inch unit. See, in 68, they started making the discs, I think the front discs became a standard instead of an option. And that was the year they introduced the excellent all-new 472 V8, which was a completely more modern V8 design. And because of that, the car is dramatically improved. So, looking at our Playart version here, you can tell by the wheel design. I've talked about the wheel design on Playart. So you can always tell the early version cars because they have what I call the flower pedal wheels. I did not have this version as a kid. I'll show you the version I had as a kid. This is one that I came across in my searches, and I was like, wow, I didn't know they made a yellow one. That's actually really cool. And one thing I liked about the early Playarts was they always gave them a individually cast steering wheel in black. Kind of make it stand out a little bit. Now these cars almost never had opening features. Every once in a great while you come across one that did. This here is one of their kind of bugaboos they had. They were kind of known for having kind of sloppy casting sometimes. This actually isn't too bad. I've seen vastly worse. Much worse. But overall, it's actually a very well done model. It would have been nice if they would have made a chrome bumper for the rear. You see they did a really nice job with the chrome bumper on the front. But on the rear, they copped out a little bit. They made it part of the black chassis. See there it says Playart, Cadillac Eldorado. And they're made in Hong Kong. They never put a issue date on their cars. But I can tell you right now, this is definitely a casting from the 1970s because it's got the, like I said, the early style wheels. That's a really nice done model, and one you don't see too often in this size. Now let me show you the one that I had as a kid. I had the beautiful blue one. Now the only difference is my blue one was an earlier version that came with those kind of flower pedal wheels. You'll notice that this one has the newer style wheels that they came out with in the 80s. And to me, it doesn't diminish the car at all. If anything, I think it improves it, actually, to be honest with you. But I always really liked the shade of blue they did on this car. Man, is it stunning. Look at that. The metallic flake. And then they're still building these with the metal chassis at this point. See, in the later part of the 80s, mid to late part of the 80s, they started switching to the plastic chassis. You know, the front grille is done equally well. But yeah, this paint's really good. Now you'll notice that this one has very clean casting. And that's probably because being a later car, they made some improvements to their tooling. So that might be one of the reasons why this one came out so much better. It still has the separate individually cast steering wheel in there. And these had a little bit of a suspension, but not much. It doesn't have a lot of travel. Not like the Majorettes and the Tomicas. But yeah, that's a really, really well done model of what is pretty much a legendary car at this point, and quite collectible, I might add, as well. Then we got a nice little Mercedes Roadster. Remember, if you were watching any kind of television show in the 70s and 80s, it seemed like every single wealthy mover and shaker, their wife had one of these cars. The character that was depicted on them shows. I believe this is a 350 SL, not the later 450 SL. So it's got the smaller V8. This car came in a lot of different versions of colors. I found this brand new in a blister pack. I think at the same time I found this green Rolls Royce, I might add. But you can also tell this is an earlier car from the 70s because it's got, like I said, the flower pedal wheels. No opening features, but, you know, once again, very nicely done metallic paint. Like I said, you know, Playart did a pretty decent job with their cars. They really did. This one's got the metal chassis because it's an earlier car. A little chrome under here, little chrome bumpers. Kind of cool what they did with the kind of jewel type tail lamps, but oddly enough they made the headlamps the same color. But hey, we'll give them an A for effort. At least they made separate individual headlights. And we got a little bit of a paint blemish right here, right there on the character line on the hood there. Kind of like a nice little ivory white interior. Yeah, it's a nice little Playart model. And as I said, the other ones you've seen before, but I'll just kind of briefly put them on the turntable. So I got three 1979 Chevrolet Caprices. Got the little taxi here with a Fly TWA banner on the roof. How many of you Gen-Xers remember flying that airline? That's long gone. They've been gone since, like, I think the 90s. And we got a nice olive green 79 Caprice. This was featured, like I said, in my B-Body Chevrolet video. I also showed you a Majorette version and a couple of green light versions, I think, too. There is an elusive color of this Caprice. It's like a lavender purple. It's quite striking. Very rare. And I used to have it as a kid, but I can't find it now. When I do find it, people want ridiculous money for it. But I have found the green and the orange one for actually pretty reasonable money. And I'll bring this up real quick just so you can remember. This is a metallic orange, by the way. It's not some regular old, you know, like a pastel orange or a non-metallic. It's actually quite sharp. And then you remember, of course, the Rolls Royce from the Rolls Royce video. That's a very rare two-door Silver Shadow, which was generally built by one of their famous coach builders called Mulliner Park Ward. So there you have it, folks. That's the entire collection of Playart Diecasts from good old Hong Kong. And I really hope you guys are enjoying the content. I know I'm enjoying making it. I just really love showing these cars off and also exercising all of my, you know, often virtually useless car knowledge. And I think sometimes I get facts wrong because I'm trying to pull most of this from memory. But yeah, if you know better, feel free to correct me. You know, my ego's not so big that I can't take correction. All right, so hope you enjoy it. Take it easy, and we'll see you in the next video.